Hi folks, I've just been looking at this book, G.E. Moore, Principia Ethica, and on page 223 he says, nevertheless I am content that the results of this chapter should be taken rather as illustrating the method which must be pursued in answering the fundamental question of ethics, and the principle which must be observed then is giving the correct answer is that question. That things intrinsically good or bad are many and various, that most of them are organic unities in the peculiar and definite sense to which I have confined the term, and that our only means of deciding upon their intrinsic value and its degree is by carefully distinguishing exactly what the thing is about which we ask the question, and then looking to see whether it has or has not the unique predicate good in any of its various degrees. These are the conclusions upon the truth of which I desire to insist. Similar in my last chapter with regard to the question of what ought we to do, I have endeavoured rather to chew exactly what is the meaning of the question and what difficulties must consequently be faced in answering it, than to prove that any particular answers are true, and that these two questions, having precisely the nature which I have assigned to them, are the questions it is the object of ethics to answer, may be regarded as the main result of the preceding chapters. I think a couple of things there, and I think it's okay trying to define terms, which G.E. Moore is trying to do. He's trying to define terms, define questions, and that's kind of an analytical, philosophical way of going about it. And I think it's important to define your terms, and so, okay, but once you define your terms, you need to come up with something. Secondly, he's talking about good, but in what context? If he's saying that ethics is that we have to look at specific things, and try to understand what the specific thing is that we're studying, and that we apply and understand good from that specific thing, then how can we talk about good if it's only contextual? If it's contextual, then it's subjective. So when we use the word good and we're trying to do ethics from a contextual basis, then it's only subjective. So how can we talk about what is good from an objective point of view if we're just concentrating on the specifics and don't really have a general idea of what good is? If we do try to talk about what good is, and talk about that good is avoiding pain and increasing pleasure, that is still a subjective way of going about doing ethics, because who's to say what is pain and who's to say what is good? One person's pain is another person's good, another person's good is another person's pain. So you're still always never going to be able to define that which is good, morally speaking. However, saying that, there is the importance of context and contextualism within any ethical debate and discussion. And I think Moore is correct there, that we do have to look at the specifics of the phenomenon that we're talking about. But what I do see is that you do need generalizations and general concepts such as good to be able to look at the specifics. Now you're in a quagmire as a naturalist, if you believe in naturalism, or as a materialist, because you're stuck with the specifics. You're stuck with the specifics of reality, and every specific of reality will never give you a general concept of ethics, whether it be the concept of good or anything else, because there is no, in the specifics, or in the general uh, taking of nature, in the general taking of reality, or in the specific analysis of reality or of nature, there is nothing there that gives you a general concept of what is good. It is amoral. Nature is amoral. Reality is amoral. And so you cannot jump, you cannot do a quantum leap, you cannot do quantum physics ethics by saying that we believe that nature is nature, we believe in evolution, etc., and we know that it's amoral, we know that there is no moral categories within all this, but hey, presto, we can give a definition of what is good, a general statement, but hey, presto, we do that because we've analysed specifics, but the specifics do not tell you what is good. So where did you get the general concept of good from? So you're in a quagmire that you can't get out of. What I'm saying is you need a higher order of philosophical inquiry to be able to give you the general concepts of what is good. And that means you need something above nature, above time, to give you the general concept, the metaphysical framework to study the particulars. You need a general to study the particulars. You need the concept of good as a general position to order to study the specifics, to define and understand that specific situation. And so therefore you're pushed out of nature and you need to look at grace. Francis Schaeffer said, talked about nature and grace, and if you look at his books on nature and grace at L'Abri Fellowship, look at his lectures, then you'll understand what I'm saying. The point what I'm saying is this, is that if you're going to have a general concept of what good is, you can't get that in nature. So no matter how much you analyze the specifics, your definition of good is arbitrary. No matter how much you'd say it's objective, it is always going to be arbitrary. You can try and put it in the social context. You can try and give it some empirical context, such as pain and pleasure. But there will always be subjective categories and arbitrary, because, like I said, a social construct will be different in one period of time of history or in one period of culture, etc. Or some empirical understanding of what good is, whether it be pain or pleasure, will be different in every different culture. For example, the Japanese culture and the Chinese culture are completely different of what makes you happy. Scientific studies in sociology and psychology, cutting-edge research shows that the Japanese understanding of what happiness is completely different from Western understanding of what happiness is. So you cannot get an empirical understanding of what good is because it's different in every culture. So you're stuck with an arbitrary concept of what is good. So you need to push out of that. You need to go beyond nature, and you need a general concept from grace that will give you to understand the particulars. So I disagree with G.E. Moore